Now, the 4 former Minneapolis police officers involved in the death of George Floyd will be arraigned in federal court today virtually. A federal grand jury indicted the former officers back in May. The charges allege they deprived George Floyd of his rights while acting under government authority as he was restrained face down and not resisting. NBC News correspondent Gabe Gutierrez joins us now from Minneapolis. Gabe, good morning. So first, let's just start with what we can expect to happen today. We're used to seeing defendants, of course, walking into court for these types of hearings, but because of the pandemic, today's hearing will be virtual. Can you walk us through what we will see in that courtroom and then what's going to happen over Zoom?
Sure. Good morning, Savannah. Well, yes, as you mentioned, this will be conducted over video conference, so we won't actually see the defendants in person. Reporters will be allowed to go in some sort of media room to watch the proceedings, because as this is federal court, it will not be like the state trial, which was broadcast for the public to see. We won't actually be able to record these proceedings over Zoom, and won't be able to broadcast them either. So very different from Chauvin's state trial.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Gabe, tell us more about the charges here. A federal grand jury handed down this indictment in May, federal there being the key word. What are these former officers facing in court?
Well, Savannah, they're very serious charges. It is federal civil rights charges, as you mentioned, but specifically, all 4 officers are charged with failing to render medical aid to George Floyd. 3 of the 4 are also charged with, violating his rights because of an unreasonable seizure. So these charges are on the federal level, again, very different from the state charges, which we saw Chauvin face earlier this year. Savannah.
Now, Gabe, let's talk about what we saw earlier this year. So Derek Chauvin, for the most part, has faced his legal challenges by himself, interestingly, and he was convicted in state court in April of murder and manslaughter and sentenced to 22.5 years in prison. Now, the other 3 are awaiting trial for charges of aiding and abetting the murder of George Floyd. What is the state of that case?
Yeah, certainly, Savannah. There's a lot of loose ends in this case following the death of George Floyd in May of 2020. As you said, Derek Chauvin was convicted of 3 counts and sentenced to 22.5 years in prison. Those are the state charges. The other 3 officers involved in this case are set to go to trial next year in March. There's then this federal case as well. In addition to that, the Department of Justice is conducting a pattern and practice investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department. And even this week, Savannah, a Hennepin County judge is set to weigh in on whether ballot language leading up to the November election that could change the Minneapolis Police Department, whether that language will go through. So certainly a lot of things up in the air following the death of George Floyd. But again, the news today is that this federal arraignment for these 4 officers on civil rights charges, that's expected to happen today over a video conference. Savannah.
All right, Gabe Gutierrez, thank you so much for your reporting.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.